my name is Tracy, and I am going to be talking today about the things that you will need to have with you when you are beginning training your dog using positive reinforcement training. I have noticed recently that on Emily's Kiko Pup channel, which is KIKOPUP channel, that she's been doing more and more complex behaviors with her dogs, which is awesome. I can't wait to get my dogs up to speed that way. But sometimes the person who is just starting out in positive reinforcement training might be a little bit lost. So if you look at Emily's earlier videos, they all have how to start out, and a lot of the information that I'm going to give you now is in those videos. So the first thing I'd like to talk to you about is that you will need a dog, a cute doggy, which we have right here. Very cute girl. And then the second thing you will need is a way to restrain that dog. So I have a few things here that are commonly used to restrain dogs. This is a common flat collar. These are not the best things for positive reinforcement training because a lot of dogs will pull to the extent where they are coughing and choking and doing damage to their trachea and the other vital organs in their neck. So this is not the best thing to train with. You should always have your dog on one of these, but they're not the best for training. Positive reinforcement training, this is a harness, a dog harness, and it was actually very difficult for me to find a harness that had the ring in the front that actually sits right on the dog's chest there. This also has a ring in the back that you can restrain your dog with as well. I had a hard time finding these at my local regular pet store, so I ended up finding it at Walmart, actually, in the very back where they have all their leashes. So here's it in a box. This was a medium, and this was a large, and this was the one I bought for Roxy. The other thing you're going to need after you've got a harness is you're going to need a leash. This is the leash that I bought for Roxy originally. This is a very common leash for a dog her size. She's 35 pounds. But you can see how heavy this lobster claw clasp is. So it's really quite heavy when we're trying to train. It was pulling down on her and was just really too heavy. So I went and got a leash for a smaller dog. This would be for a smaller dog. But you can see that that clasp is much smaller. It doesn't pull and drag on her quite as much as the one that I had originally. This leash, you should get a 6-foot leash. This leash is actually 5 feet, which is totally fine, unless your dog is really, really close to the ground. Then it would be a little bit harder to do training with them. But this has worked really well on Roxy. If you're going to start doing distance training, where you're doing things from your dog where you're further away and you're asking them to do behaviors, you're going to need a longer lead. And this one is, I think, 30 feet. You can get them in 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 feet. I just got this on an online store. You can see the clasp on this one also is very small, so that makes it a little bit easier for the dog to move around and isn't quite so heavy on them. The next thing you're going to need when you're training your dog is you're going to need what's called a marker. So positive reinforcement training, the most common marker, of course, is a clicker. A clicker, it makes a novel sound. It's very distinct. The dog, whenever the dog hears it, they know that a treat is coming. It's not something they hear in their everyday world. And so that makes a clicker a very good marker. The other markers that can be used are words, verbal markers like the word yes. That is a word that your dog will hear in its everyday life, but if it hears it like this, yes, 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 then it always knows that that way that you're saying it means a reinforcement is coming. You can also use words like okay and good. Those are not as good of markers because those words are used in your dog's everyday world and might start to lose their meaning if they hear them a lot. If you use the word okay, you might want to use it like this, okay, 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 to give it a really distinct marker sound. The word good is probably the worst one because your dog hears good dog all the time, and it starts to lose its meaning. It doesn't really mean anything to the dog anymore. So after you've got your marker, you've got your leashes, you're going to use a reinforcement. Now, most people think in positive reinforcement training that reinforcers are food. Most of the time they are. This is some chopped up chicken from my dinner that I have left over. I have some ham, which Roxy loves a lot, and then cheese, which she will pretty much walk through fire for some cheese. And I just take pieces of that off and give that to her as her reinforcer. If you're going to use food as a reward, some people will take part of the dog's food out of their bowl for the day when they know they're going to be training on that day, and then use this as a supplement to their food on that day. And some people do that, and that's totally fine. But But reinforcers don't always have to mean food, but food is probably the best reinforcer. Most dogs will work for food. But some dogs are more toy motivated than they are food motivated, or vice versa. These are some of Roxy's toys. This is her guava that she's used. You can see that she's torn this apart because she loves this. We play tug with this, so if she does a behavior that I like, I'll either click it. Usually I don't use a clicker when I use this because I need my hands free. But I'll say yes, and we'll play with the tug for a couple seconds, and then I'll put it behind my back. She knows we're done, and then I'll ask her down, stay, walk away from her, come back and say yes, and we'll play tug, put it down, and then we'll do another behavior. Some dogs are really motivated by tennis balls or balls. My Pepper is very motivated by these. Roxy is not as motivated by this. This is another tug toy, and then this is another Kong with maybe food or something in it that would be reinforcing to a dog. The last reinforcer I'm going to talk about is I'm going to talk about the dog's environment. The environment that the dog has can be very reinforcing to a dog. So, for example, Roxy really likes the mailbox out in the front of our yard. All the dogs in the neighborhood come there and sniff and urinate on it, and so she really likes to go there. So in order for her to get there, she has to walk on a loose leash. So when we first started, we walked on a loose leash. She started pulling, I stopped, waited for her to stop pulling, look at me, said yes, and we went on our way, or I clicked her, we went on our way. As soon as she started pulling, I stopped again, waited for her to either look back at me or loosen the leash. Once again, either a clicker, yes, and we started moving forward. And it took us probably the first time to get to that mailbox, which is, I don't know, maybe 10 feet from my house. The first time probably took us 10 minutes. And then as time went on, she realized that in order to get to that post, she had to walk on a loose leash. Now it's not an issue at all. She walks very calmly on a loose leash. I tell her go sniff. She sniffs the mailbox and she urinates on it and has a grand old time. And then we start walking down the road, same thing, loose leash, and then I say go sniff, and she gets to sniff a bush in the neighborhood that she really likes. And then all the other dogs urinate on, and so she gets to do that. So look around your environment, see what the dog considers reinforcing in its environment. You could use that also as a reinforcer. So most common, once again, are probably treats, toys, and then also your dog's environment also is a very reinforcing thing. So good luck. Get started training your dog in a positive reinforcement way, and watch Emily's videos on Kiko Pup, Kikopup.